I've just seen The Walking Dead's big season finale, and I'm every bit as pissed off as you are. Okay, you know what? Let me just say this right at the top. If you aren't a Walking Dead fan, this episode is not for you. Please enjoy the other videos our channel has to offer. And also, if you aren't caught up with Walking Dead, please go away. Catch up, then come back. Spoilers abound from here on out. But for those of you who are caught up and who might be pissed about what went down, or didn't go down, or went down but wasn't shown in that finale, well, then this episode might just be for you. Because I want to talk about that ending, the big Season 6 finale. I want to talk about what they got right, what they didn't, and why I'm certain I figured out who exactly, we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, Season 6 finale, great episode. It was intense, man. It reminded me of that old 70s Peter Fonda flick, Race with the Devil, what with its sense of impending doom and hopelessness for our lead characters. And, you know, there's an RV too. Unbelievably dreadful throughout. And then when we get to that ending, when we finally get to meet the villain fans of the show have been waiting for all season, and fans of the comic and show have been waiting for like years, you know, Negan, arguably the most iconic villain in the comic book's history. Negan made one amazing, awful entrance in the comic, brutally murdering one of our lead characters while everyone else had to watch on helplessly. It's not different in the television show. When we finally get to see Negan, one, he's awesome. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just excellent in the role. From the moment you see his face, that grin, his first line, you just knew this was as perfect a bit of casting as this show will ever have. And fortunately, the series seems to have pretty much fully adapted the character faithfully. You know, leather jacket, check. Shit-eating grin, check. Lucille, the vampire bat. Ugh, double check. When Negan appears in this finale for its final few moments, it's as direct a translation from comic to screen as this show has ever had. His monologue, which underlines how Negan can be both terrifying and charismatic and, damn it, funny, seems to have been taken directly from the book, minus the, profuse foul language. Seriously, the comic book character drops the F-bomb and, like it's punctuation. Anyway, Jeffrey Dean Morgan kills it as Negan. Amazing scene and a wonderful capper to this finale and this season. If only... You see, again, in the comic, Negan is super iconic. But a good part of the reason why he's so iconic is due to his entrance. And the fact that he beats a beloved character to death with a baseball bat wrapped with barbed wire. That's Lucille. Now, in the comic book, it's Glenn. And it's friggin' awful. The first swing pops out his eyeball. He starts screaming for Maggie. And then his head's beaten to mush. Of course, the television series has a knack for switching up the deaths from the comic to the TV show. Usually the storylines and the big set pieces are left in place, but the characters who die in them are swapped out with others. For example, in the show a couple of seasons back, the governor cut Herschel's head off with Michonne's katana. In the comic, it was Tyrese. Now, in the show, Denise takes a crossbow bolt to the eye. In the comic, it was Abraham. So when it came to the Season 6 finale, it didn't have to be Glenn who died, and it probably wouldn't have been. Unless the makers of the show felt the only way to continue to keep comic fans who also watch the show off balance would be to actually kill the right character in the right set piece. Still, no guarantee. Honestly, my money was always on Glenn or Daryl. You know, they're not going to kill Rick or Carl, they're not going to kill Maggie, a pregnant woman, and they're not going to kill any of the supporting characters, who all might be beloved, sure, but come on. To make Negan's entrance as iconic as possible, we need to lose one of the show's heavy hitters. So when we finally get to that big moment, when Negan raises his bat and lets loose, who caught the wrong end of Lucille? Who knows? The showrunners elected, in all their wisdom, to sap the power out of Negan's introduction by pissing off every single viewer by pulling the same sort of cliffhanger nonsense they attempted earlier in the season with Glenn's death. Or not death, whatever. Look, I'm not opposed to cliffhangers, especially when they're well done, but the makers of the show have teased Negan for what seems like ages now. They cast the perfect actor in the role. They built up the finale beautifully, and when we get to the big moment, they've left their entire audience screaming, "Oh, come on!" But if they'd shown us who died at Negan's hands just before cutting to black, oof, what better or worse note to leave us on? Instead, Fans are frustrated, having been cheated of an iconic villain's equally iconic entrance, its power drained by a lamely staged POV moment and a premature cut to black. Now, we're left to wonder, who died? Except, we'll know soon enough. Once the show begins filming again, this summer probably, the inevitable leaked location and set pics will make it obvious who's no longer on the show. It'll hit Twitter, it'll hit the movie news sites, it'll be inescapable. So by the time the show returns in the fall to reveal who died at Negan's hands, it won't get a gasp, it'll get a shrug. But before that happens, why don't we go ahead and try to figure out who it might be now? I mean, why not? I think it's fairly obvious, but then I could be completely wrong. But if you'd like to hear the theory I'd put money on, and you're willing to listen to me ramble for a moment more, well, here's what I see happening. The next episode we see, the season 7 opener, will we see who Negan killed straight away? Of course not. This is The Walking Dead, man. 6 months isn't long enough to wait. 6 months and the bulk of an episode? Much more likely. No, we're going to go back to the moment where Daryl was shot by Dwight just before the finale. And we're going to spend the entire episode with that group of his. Daryl, Glenn, Michonne, and Rosita. We're going to see everything that happened during the finale, but it's going to be from their point of view, in true chronologically fractured Walking Dead style. And once this is played out, the episode will wind up back at the big moment from the previous episode with Negan monologuing and killing a series regular. I wholeheartedly believe that. Meaning, it'll be Glenn or Daryl who dies. We'll have just spent the entire episode with them, getting used to the idea that we might be saying goodbye to one of them. I mean, sorry, I love Rosita, but her death wouldn't have the same impact as the other two. You know, I mean, it's Glenn or it's Daryl, but, sorry, what? What's that? What about Michonne? Couldn't she be the one who's killed? No, it won't be Michonne, because I think the showrunners know that,
if they harm one hair on Michonne's head, I'll find them, I'll torture them, and I'll swallow their souls.
Pardon me. So, Glenn or Daryl? You know, because they won't want to repeat Negan's entire 5 or 10 minute friggin' monologue again, they're going to use Daryl's bullet wound and blood loss as an excuse to fade in and out of that big speech, like it's him going in and out of consciousness, giving us the important highlights of Negan's speech. A Cliff's Notes version, if you will. And because it's going to be from Daryl's point of view, that means it's going to be Daryl who gets whacked. Now, pure conjecture. But between my reasoning and the fact that AMC just gave Norman Reedus his own motorcycle reality show called Ride with Norman Reedus, I'm standing by it. Plus, I think Reedus appearing on The Talking Dead right after the big season finale is yet another clue. You know, once he's filmed his last moments for the next episode, again, if you go by my theory, there will be loads of time for him to have moved on to other things, removing any guarantee that he'll be free to appear on The Talking Dead after his big exit. You know, this way they can at least say that they had him on one last time. I don't know. But maybe I'm completely wrong about all of this. Surely you're a fan of The Walking Dead. Surely you have your own thoughts on the matter. Well, let us know what they are. After you like, subscribe, and share, use the comments section below to tell me I'm right or wrong, and tell me your own theory as to who it was that received Lucille's deadly kiss. You can also scream at us on Twitter, that's @ScreamAddicts, or give me a yell, I am @Jinx1981. Be sure to check out some of our other horror-themed videos, suggest some movies or subjects for us to tackle, and keep an eye out for new episodes every Wednesday. Until then, fellow Scream Addicts, take care, and we'll see you next time.